What's up, beautiful people? It's me, Ricky Jones Jr., and in this video, I will be fertilizing this here raised bed that I've just brought to the backyard. Let's get to it! What's up, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Don't Keep Up With the Joneses. 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 What's up, beautiful people? It's me with another video, and like I said, we'll be fertilizing this raised bed using these products. We have the bone meal, the blood meal, the sustain, and the Simply Grow worm castings, which are all going to be necessary, vital, and important to make sure this here soil has all the nutrients it needs for my vegetables, for my things to grow, my herbs to grow. Everything's going to grow nice, abundantly, and beautifully because of these here fertilizers, okay? And so I definitely will put links down below for all of them so that you can do this too. But I am just doing the necessary things, preparing this here raised bed for optimal growth, okay? That's what you want in your garden. Optimal growth, OP, okay? But anyway, at the end of the day, let me go ahead and get to it now. Let me say this. I am doing this now, knowing that in the future, okay, maybe a day or two from now, I will be stringing up this here raised bed for the use of square foot gardening, okay? And so you want to make sure you do the necessary steps in the meantime, in between time, before stringing things up, because it's a little bit harder to work with the soil and things like that if you don't have it all set up. But if you do have it all set up like I'm doing now, and then fertilizing, and then you string, and then you plant, and then you're happy, that's the process, okay? So little things in order will make a big difference, okay? And so fertilizing before stringing is necessary. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have a fun little tool that I'm going to use just to make sure everything is nice and incorporated well, and we just gonna go ahead and get into it. So if you would, click that subscribe button, turn it from a red button into a gray button, because people like you have been watching my videos and are not subscribed. So let's go ahead and make that change today. Okay? Okay? I think I gave you enough time. Let's do it. Okay, great people. So we're going to start on this side. And the purpose of this tool is just to loosen up the soil. Make sure everything is nice and loose, because it has been sitting back here getting rained on. We even have a little weed that's starting to grow, which, is kind of a good sign, but also something that we don't want. It lets me know that the soil is nice and ready for growth to be taking place. Then we're just going to continue down here, and like I said, I'll put a link down below for everything that you see in the video. We're just going to keep going, making sure everything is nice and loose. It's the purpose of this tool. And how loose the soil is will allow for the fertilizers to get down and dirty in the soil, because that's where the roots grow. The roots grow down, okay? So you don't want the fertilizers to be sitting at the top. For what? That's a waste of fertilizer. So let's go ahead and get going. The first thing I'm going to start out with is some Simply Grow worm castings. They work great. Nice product, beautiful company. Definitely would recommend it. Like I said, links will be down below. And we're just going to cast it. We're going to cast it around the bed itself, and then just work it in. Get your hands in there. Don't feel weird or awkward. It's dirt. It's a good thing. All right. And we're casting, okay? We're casting the worm castings. We're going to cast all the fertilizers. This is going to do what it needs to do. Then we're going to also use some sustain. I love sustain. I use sustain. Have been using sustain. We'll continue to use sustain. It's a nice organic product as well. So we're going to do the same shifting casting method. Now, yes, you can use other apparati to help do this, but I just like to use my hand and a pair of gloves, okay? Also, we're going to use some good old bone meal. And the cool thing about bone meal is that it's white, so you'll be able to actually see what this looks like. Cast it over, boom. Making sure it's spread throughout. is the ultimate goal of what we're going for here. Last but not least, we'll use some blood meal, which is going to be very great and good for my greens. Very good, very beneficial, very helpful for them. The bone meal is definitely good for the roots and for like tomatoes and things like that. Bell peppers, jalapeno peppers, any type of peppers. Bone meal is good, a good fertilizer for them. However, this is going to be great for, like I said, my collards, my greens, my kales, all those things. Boom. And so now, with that great mixture here, of course, pay attention to your soil. Make sure you get out things that you don't want in there. And obviously, keep things in there that you do. But then we're just going to mix, you know? Just like mixing a cake. You go for it. Take out the unnecessary weeds and things that may be in your garden or in your soil. Loosen up your soil while you're working things in. And once you get to this point, you're pretty much good. You just want a good rainfall just to get everything nice and incorporated. All the fertilizers in here nice and saturated throughout. Because even when you're planting, you can always add fertilizer to the planting holes and things that you're gardening in. And so there's no worry there. But just to give everything a nice, good start is what we're going for, right? You may be wondering how people have all these beautiful crops, nice crops. Well, you have to check the soil. What is in the soil? Because that is what the crops are growing from. And so here I'm giving you the winning ingredients, method, and process for your garden to be the garden that people admire and that your belly thanks you for. All right. And I love the worm casting so much, I'm gonna just sprinkle some more right on top. Nice organic product, so you can't go wrong. This time, I'm gonna do it without turning the soil, because you may say, Ricky, hey, I don't wanna go through all of that. I just wanna fertilize. Okay, cool. This part is for you. Same type scenario. Spreading over your garden the necessary fertilizers. That's gonna get you to the success that you want. And it's cool because I'm already seeing some little weeds and things growing, which on one case is like, oh, I don't want that to happen, but on another case, it is like, okay, cool. That means my soul has it going on, okay? Things can grow, things want to grow. Put the worm castings down. Gotta have the worm castings. Worm castings are the secret sauce to garden growth. You see a beautiful garden, first thing you want to ask them, what type of worm castings are you using? They'll always have an answer. Alright, so then we're just gonna mix it in, okay? And so as we know, this one wasn't like toy or tilled, turned over and things like that. But more than anything, as we did for the first round, we just want to make sure everything is properly incorporated, okay? So, again, using your hands, mixing things in like a great baker that you may or may not be. I know I'm not, but I can definitely mix some fertilizer. I can tell you that much. So just going along, trying to rub your hands in there as well will do it some justice. Getting the fertilizers nice and incorporated into the soil and not so much as like a top dressing. All right. Making sure to taking out the necessary or the unnecessary weeds that may try to, pop up. But all is well. Alright, so let me say this, while you are mixing and incorporating your fertilizers, when you do and use the ones that I am using, they are organic fertilizers, so ultimately you really can't do too much wrong, okay? And so don't feel like you have to measure things out and all those things. Just try not to use too much, okay? And it's funny because, you know, cooks always say just a little dab, a little sprinkle, a little taste, a little things like that, like cooking terms. But I feel like you would know, like a handful, okay? Use a handful of the bone meal, a handful of the blood meal, a handful of the sustain, a handful of the worm castings. You can even use a whole full 2 handfuls of worm castings and it will do well. But nonetheless, just, you know, do those things. So now we're gonna go over to the raised bed that has things already planted in them, so that you can even see that process, because it's a little bit different, but more similar to this raised bed as opposed to the tilling side of things, okay? Alright, so if you're wondering, you really don't want to till this soil because there are roots already growing from this here rosemary plant that you don't want to disturb or mess up with, as it is reincorporating itself into the soil, which is why it looks like this. You know, things always look a little bit bad before they get good. So I'm really not worried about this. I've replanted this rosemary twice already. But anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and start with some sustain, even giving the rosemary a nice dab of it as well. And we just gonna keep going down, which we also have this collard plant that I'm gonna give the nutrients to as well. And same concept, we're not gonna disturb the roots of the collards by tilling or turning over the soil, but we're just gonna allow it to do what it does, or been doing, I really should say. Incorporating the blood meal. This is fabulous for the collards, so making sure they get this as well. Get a lot of love in that area, because it loves blood meal, okay? Your greens love blood meal. Keep that in mind. Greens love blood meal, and your peppers and your flowering plants, they love bone meal, okay? But bone meal is good in general because of the benefits that it brings to the roots of all plants, vegetables, flowers. Blood meal is here for everybody, okay? So definitely gonna put it at the bottom of the plants as the roots are developing. But then make sure you stay tuned to see how we incorporate things in this raised bed as opposed to the other ones, which you may or may not have an idea, but you will know when I'm done. And of course, we're going to incorporate some worm castings done by the great people at Simply Grow. Make sure to show love on the rosemary. And this one, we're just gonna roll our hands over it. Nice, smooth, and easy. Again, not to dig too deep, messing with the roots that are establishing from these plants already, but agitating the soil enough that things, you know, get active. We're just trying to activate the vibes. I love that phrase, and it's so true. We activating the vibes, y'all. Activating the vibes. And the chickens are talking to me, even though I don't speak chicken. But like I did in the other ones, I'm gonna top dress the soil with the worm castings, because it never hurts. It only helps. So the way we're going to incorporate things here is with some water. You know, we can go ahead and water this one because things are already growing in the soil itself already. Yes, you can water all of them, but I'm definitely paying more attention to this one because I don't want the fertilizers or anything to just sit. But I do want them to go ahead and get going. You know, so everybody can be happy. The soil, the plants, me, the fertilizer, you, happy. Boom, just like that. Now I'm just go ahead and spray it all, because I don't know what the forecast calls for, but I do know what I can do right now. All right, great people. Now at this point, you actually can just go ahead and start planting, gardening, and growing things in your garden. However, those that know me, as I already said, I'm going to be doing the square foot gardening method. So definitely stay tuned, check back in, check out the next video and things like that, where I do string these things up and even talk about why I do the square foot gardening method if you don't already know. But hey, we're going to let these things incorporate for at least about 2 or 3 days, and then I'll go ahead and square foot garden this bad boy, because then I can go ahead and plant some seeds. Okay, everything lines up for growth. Okay, one thing stack on another thing, and I need to go ahead and get a shower because this boy is just stinky. Okay, so at the end of the day, I love you all, I appreciate you all, and I will see you on the next video. Until next time, peace, love you, happy gardening, happy growing, leads to a happy belly.